And that's why the lovers are not afraid of tribulations. Maulana says, I'm just like that bird, that nightingale that takes the rose and the thorns. I don't love just the rose. I love the thorns as well. So someone comes and he asks, what are the Sufis in your town like? And he says, the Sufis in my town are such that if they don't find anything, they're patient. And if they find something to eat, they're thankful. And Shaqiq says, well, the dogs of Balkh are like that. The dogs of Balkh, if they don't find anything, they're patient. If they find something to eat, they wag their tails and they're thankful. Then he says, okay, what are the Sufis in Balkh like? And then he says, when they don't find anything, they're thankful. And when they find something, they give to others, they share with others.
Saidi in his Gulistan, he says, when I was traveling in Lebanon, I did not have shoes. And I had traveled for so long and I didn't have shoes and my feet were blistered. And then I saw someone who didn't have feet. And then for the rest of the journey, I thanked God. I never complained about not having shoes anymore.
Allah doesn't break us to destroy us. Every time there is a trial, every time there is some sort of illness, it's not because God is mean. It's because God wants to reveal the hidden treasures, the hidden pearls, the hidden rubies. When the kids are busy playing, they forget their mother. The moment they're hungry, they go to their mother. So the whole point of this experiencing hunger is you remember your origin, you remember your mother, you remember your God. I'm being taken. I'm not going this path by myself. That's something that all lovers say. ای بی خبر من میروم. Sa'di Shirazi, he says, people come to Sa'di and say, نزدیک او دیگر مرو, don't go to her. Don't go to your beloved. And Sa'di says, ای بی خبر من میروم. Oh ignorant ones, am I going to her? او میکشد قلاب را. She's pulling the fishing hook. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to read, inshallah, together another beautiful ghazal of Maulana, and all Maulana's ghazals are beautiful. It's one of those ghazals that are addressed to lovers. There are so many ghazals of Maulana that start with ay Ashaqan, all lovers, all lovers. So he's not just calling out to a crowd, he's calling to the lovers. He's calling anyone who has the love within his or her heart, and he's going to wake something up inside us, within us. He's calling that part within us that remembers and is aware of God and remembers its homeland. As Maulana says, Har kasi ko dur mand az asl khish, anyone who's far from his homeland, from his root, from his foundation, باز جوید روزگار وصل خویش. He seeks the days of union. He actively seeks union. So this is the story of lovers, and Maulana is going to talk about lovers, their tribulation, their sea of tribulation, and what they do in that sea.
ای عاشقان امروز ماییم و شما افتاده در غرقابه ای تا خود که داند آشنا. گر سیل عالم پر شود هر موج چون اشتر شود، مرغان آبی را چه غم تا غم خورد مرغ هوا. ما رخ شکر افروخته با موج و بحر آموخته، زانسان که ماهی را بود دریا و طوفان جان فزا. ای شیخ ما را فوته ده وی آب ما را غوطه ده، ای موسی عمران بیا بر آب دریا زن عصا. این باد اندر هر سری سودای دیگر می پزد، سودای آن ساقی مرا، باقی همه آن شما. دیروز مستان را به ره بربود آن ساقی کله، امروز می در می دهد تا برکند از ما قبا. ای رشک ماه و مشتری، با ما و پنهان چون پری، خوش خوش کشانم می بری، آخر نگویی تا کجا. هر جا روی تو با منی، ای هر دو چشم و روشنی، خواهی سوی مستیم کش، خواهی ببر سوی فنا. عالم چو کوه طور دان، ما همچو موسی طالبان، هر دم تجلی می رسد، بر می شکافد کوه را. یک پاره اخضر می شود، یک پاره عبهر می شود، یک پاره گوهر می شود، یک پاره لعل و کهربا. ای طالب دیدار او، بنگر در این کهسار او. ای که چه باده خورده ای، ما مست گشتیم از صدا. ای باغبان ای باغبان، در ما چه در پیچیده ای، گر برده ای منگور تو، تو برده ای انبان ما.
O lovers, today it is just us and you. Fallen into a whirlpool, let us see who knows how to swim. If a flood fills the world and every wave becomes like a camel, what sorrow touches the birds of water? Let the birds of air be troubled. Our faces glow with gratitude, accustomed to the waves and the sea, just as the ocean and the storm are life bestow into the fish. O Sheikh, give us a loincloth, and you, water, give us the plunge. O Moses, son of Imran, come and strike the sea with your staff. This wind brews a different frenzy in every head. Mine is for that cupbearer, let all else be yours. Yesterday on the road, that cupbearer snatched the hats of the drunkards. Today he pours the wine again to strip the cloaks from us. O envy of moon and Jupiter, you are with us, yet hidden like a peri. Softly, sweetly, you pull me along, will you not say where? Wherever you go, you are with me, O both my eyes and my light. Pull me toward intoxication if you wish, or lead me into annihilation. Take the world as Mount Sinai and us as Moses seekers. Every moment a manifestation arrives and splits the mountain asunder. One piece becomes emerald, one piece becomes a narcissus, one piece becomes a jewel, another piece ruby and amber. As O seeker of his vision, look into this mountain range of his. O mountain, what wine have you drunk? We are drunk from the echo. O gardener, why do you tangle with us? If we have taken your grapes, you have taken our sack.
ای عاشقان ای عاشقان، امروز ماییم و شما، افتاده در غرقابه تا خود که داند آشنا. Maulana calls on the lovers. O lovers, O lovers, امروز ماییم و شما. Today it's you and us, fallen into this whirlpool, غرقابه. Now, who is Ashna, the friend of the water? It's interesting. Swimming in Persian is آشنا, to be a friend of the water, to be an acquaintance of the water. You become familiar with the water. Who knows swimming? Who is the one who knows swimming? And for Maulana, swimming is the ultimate art of the lover. Because swimming, it's all about taslim. It's all about surrender. So long as you struggle, you're not a swimmer. When you surrender, you become a swimmer. So that's why in the language of the Sufis and the language of the Arafin, obviously you have this sea, this whirlpool of divine love. And the swimmer is the one who lets go. Swimming, it's all about letting go. It's all about surrendering to the water. You know, that's why in the story, the famous story of the sailor and the grammarian, the grammarian asks the sailor, do you know Arabic grammar? And he says no. And the grammarian says, so you've wasted half of your life. And then there's a whirlpool. Again, the same concept of the whirlpool, that whirlpool where the struggle doesn't help. Arabic grammar doesn't help. The only thing that helps is swimming. And then the sailor comes, or the captain of the ship, whatever, comes to the grammarian and says, do you know how to swim? The grammarian says, no, I don't know how to swim. And then he says, now you've wasted all of your life because this ship is about to sink. So, آب دریا مرده را بر سر نهد. The water of the sea will raise you if you're dead. And swimming, it's all about dying before you die. The swimmer is the one who knows to surrender, knows how to surrender, and does not struggle against it, does not struggle against the water. گر سیل عالم پر شود, if the whole world is taken by this sail, by this flood, by this whirlpool, غرقابه, the entire world, and every wave is like as big as a camel. So you have a flood with waves as big, as gigantic as camels. Terrifying. But then Maulana says you have water birds. You have مرغان هوا, you have the birds of the air. They would be terrified. If the water rises, they would be terrified. But then you have ducks, you have swans. Their entire life is in the water. They have no fear of tribulation. Any tribulation, any trial, they're ready. Because they're familiar with that. They're familiar with this water. And that's why the lovers are not afraid of tribulations. And Maulana says, I'm just like that bird, that nightingale that takes the rose and the thorns. I don't love just the rose. I love the thorns as well. I'm just like a whale. In چه بلبل, I'm not just a nightingale or a bulbul. I'm like a whale. چه نهنگ آتشی است, a fiery whale. جمله ناخوش‌ها ز عشق او را خوشی است. Because of love, all unpleasant things are pleasant for me. عاشقان بر قهر و بر لطفش به جد. I love his kindness, his love, but I also like the beloved's harshness, the beloved's sternness and strictness. والعجب من عاشق این هر دو ضد. How wondrous it is that I love these opposites. I love both. I love not just nice things, but also the difficulties and also the tribulations. So the birds of the water, they're not terrified. They're not terrified of tribulation, and they're always ready. ما رخ شکر افروخته. Our faces glow with gratitude. با موج و بحر آموخته. And we're familiar with the waves and the sea. زانسان که ماهی را بود دریا و طوفان جان فزا. A fish, for the fish, the ocean is life. The fish is not afraid of water. For the fish, the water is life bestowing. So here you have the concept of shukr. So in tribulations, you're thankful, you're grateful. It's reminds me of the story of, I believe it's Shaqiq Balkhi. So someone comes and he asks, what are the Sufis in your town like? And he says, the Sufis in my town are such that if they don't find anything, they're patient. And if they find something to eat, they're thankful. And Shaqiq says, well, the dogs of Balkh are like that. The dogs of Balkh, if they don't find anything, they're patient. If they find something to eat, they wag their tails and they're thankful. Then he says, okay, what are the Sufis in Balkh like? And then he says, when they don't find anything, they're thankful. And when they find something, they give to others, they share with others. So yeah, you have the concept of being thankful, right? Not only for blessings, not only for life's pleasant side, but also for tribulations, also for the difficulties, also thanking God for those, because they're also an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to remember God. ای شیخ ما را فوته ده وی آب ما را غوطه ده ای موسی عمران بیا بر آب دریا زن عصا. So Maulana is saying, ای Shaykh, O Shaykh, the spiritual master, the Pir, come and give us the loincloth. So when you want to enter the ocean, you can't enter with all your robes and turban and all of that. No, you need a loincloth. Or in the bathhouse, or when they wanted to swim, they would use a loincloth. So the Shaykh gives you that. The Shaykh prepares you for that journey, for the sea journey, for diving into this water. So he gives you the loincloth. وی آب ما را غوطه ده, and then the water, give us the plunge, the plunging into the water. So first of all, you need to let go of your robes. You need to become naked or have this loincloth, and then take the plunge. Take that plunge, ای موسی عمران, and then the prophet, right? Invoking the power of a prophet. بیا بر آب دریا زن عصا. You cannot journey alone. You need that Musi Amran to part the sea of your ego, and so that you can cross this sea. So you need to ask a teacher. You cannot journey this path alone. You need to ask your teacher to help you let go of that pride, so you can walk through. So you can walk through, just like the story of Moses and the Red Sea, as you know. این باد اندر هر سری سودای دیگر می‌پزد. This wind, now from water we go to wind. It always happens in Maulana. Now this wind, in every head there is a different sauda, and sauda, I mean, it comes from biles, the black bile in Greek medicine. But for Maulana, it became synonymous with obsession, passion. Everyone has a different obsession. Everyone has something else, something different they're in love with. Some people love money. Some people love power. Some people love reputation. Different people have different obsessions. And this wind is creating different passions, different obsessions in different people. Obsession with money, obsession with fame. But the madness, the frenzy I seek is the madness of love. And Maulana says, سودای آن ساقی مرا باقی همه آن شما. My madness is madness for the saqi. Everything else is for you. I choose the madness of the saqi, the cupbearer. And it reminds me of Khaja Abdullah Ansari. He says, دیگران مست شرابند من مست ساقی. Others are in love with the wine. I'm in love with the giver of the wine. I'm in love with the cupbearer. مستی ایشان فانی است، مستی من باقی. Their drunkenness is transient. It doesn't last much. It's temporary. My drunkenness lasts forever. مستی من باقی. Because I'm in love with the cupbearer, not just the cups, not just the wine. دیروز مستان را به ره بربود آن ساقی کله امروز می در می دهد تا برکند از ما قبا. And now he's saying what saqi he's talking about, the love for the saqi. He says, yesterday this cupbearer, this saqi, he snatched away berbud. He took away the cap or the hat of the drunkards. So in Maulana's time, the sign of being drunk was not having a cap or not having a hat. It meant that you're drunk. You're not aware. You're not conscious, because it was so important having a hat or having a cap. There's a lot of poems about hats and how important they were. In Persian, if you want to say a nobody, like a riffraff, someone who has no social standing, they would say bi sarpa. So someone who doesn't have a head covering and doesn't have shoes. That cap represents your reputation. You know, there's this story in Parveen Ehtesami, contemporary poet, and there's this watchman or policeman who catches this drunkard. And he says, "You're drunk, that's why you don't have a hat." And then he says, "گفت در سر مغز باید بی کلاهی عار نیست." In a head, you need to have a brain. Not having a hat is not a disgrace. But for a lot of people at that time, it was a disgrace. But then Maulana says, now this Saqi wants to take away not only your hat, but also your qaba, your robe, your clothes, your existence. He wants to take everything from you and make you his, losing everything else, giving up everything else, becoming his. ای رشک ماه و مشتری با ما و پنهان چون پری. You are the envy of moon and Jupiter. ماه و مشتری, the beauty of the moon and Jupiter. And mushtari also means purchaser. So it could be a reference to the buyer, as in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. God purchases the believers. So, but the one who is so beautiful that the moon is envious and Jupiter is envious. با ما و پنهان چون پری. You're always with us. Everywhere we go, you're always with us. And yet you're hidden, you're subtle, like the pari. So the pari in Persian folklore is this creature that's hidden, and it's so subtle and so beautiful, but it's felt. You can feel the presence of a pari. So you're like that. You're always with us, but you're subtle. Eyes cannot see you. You're invisible. Not only invisible, you're subtle. And you pull us, you drag us. It's like this invisible force that's taking you here, taking you there. The jazba, the pull. So it's like that magnetic attraction. You're being dragged. You're not walking, you're being taken. That's the pull. And that's what Maulana says, ای برگ پریشان شده در باد مخالف. Oh, you are just like a leaf that's being carried by the wind. گر باد نبینی تو نبینی که چنینی. You don't see the wind, but don't you see your own state, your own situation, how you're being carried away? So it's the same feeling, you're being carried away. Don't you tell us where you're taking me? Where am I being taken? And wherever I go, you are with me. You are my light. You're not something that can be seen because you are the light of my eye. And that's why you cannot be seen. So take me either to خواهی مستی kash, take me to intoxication. That's the spiritual state, the hal. Or خواهی ببر سوی فنا, take me to the maqam, the station of fana, when you're annihilated, you're gone. So it's you who is taking me. In either case, I'm not journeying this path by myself. I'm being taken. که من دل شده این ره نه به خود میپویم. I'm not going this path by myself. Right? So that's something that all lovers say. That's something that all lovers say. ای بی خبر من میروم. سعدی شیرازی, he says, you know, people come to Saadi and say, نزدیک او دیگر مرو, don't go to her. Right? Don't go to your beloved. And Saadi says, ای بی خبر من میروم. Oh, ignorant ones, am I going to her? او میکشد قلاب را. She's pulling the fishing hook. Right? She's pulling me. I'm not doing anything. So same concept here. You're not walking. You're being dragged. You're being dragged by this magnet. عالم چو کوه طور دان ما همچو موسی طالبان هر دم تجلی میرسد بر میشکافد کوه را. And this world is just like Tur, Sinai or Sinai. And we're just like Moses, Taliban, so seekers. What was Moses seeking? He was seeking didar, vision. And that's why he was saying, Arini, show me your face, show me your countenance. And Maulana says, at every instant, there is that tajalli, there is that manifestation that Moses saw. We see that at every instant. So this world is a Sinai, and at every moment we see divine manifestation. This mountain is being shattered at every moment by light. And we need to have those eyes, again, the basira, to see that, to see what's happening to this mountain. یک پاره اخضر می شود، یک پاره ابهر می شود، یک پاره گوهر می شود، یک پاره لعل و کهربا. Everything in this mountain that's being shattered, so you see one part becomes emerald, one part becomes pearls, one part becomes rubies, amber. So, you know, that mountain is shattered, but in this broken state, it reveals the gemstones. The gemstones hidden in that mountain became visible. So pain is not that bad because it brings about that transformation. It reveals the rubies in you. It reveals the gemstones, the amber. All of those become manifest. ای طالب دیدار او بنگر در این کهسار او. O you who seek didar, or you who seek a vision of the beloved. Look at the mountain. Right? Look at the mountain and the wind, the wine that this mountain has eaten or has drunk. That's the nafas al-Rahman, the breath of the all-compassionate. Ma mast gashtim as-sada. Even the echo, even the voice of this breath has made us drunk. Now, if the voice has made us drunk, what about seeing? What about the face? What would the face do?
Yeah, it reminded me of this really beautiful poem that was written, that a man has a dream that he's walking along the side with God, and then there's two footprints, and then one footprint is his and one is God, and walking along the side, and then he notices that part of the journey there's only one footprint, and he realizes that's the time when it was really difficult time for him, and he says to God, you know, during this really difficult time, you were not there, it's only my footprints, and kind of for him, that's not your footprints, they're my footprints carrying you during the difficult time. Yeah, so it was very beautiful.
Yeah, Allah, indeed.
This is regarding that mountain and Tajalli, and then it just fragments, breaks apart, and one piece becomes a ruby, another piece becomes a pearl, like that, an emerald. It said. I was just reminded of a poem, a part of it where in praise of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, it says that because it's mentioned Basharun Mithulukum, Basharun Mithlukum, Kal Yakuti Bainal Hajar. It is mentioned. It is a stone like other stones, but it's like the ruby. I think Yakut means the ruby. I think it is an allusion to the Awliya or the saints, that the light that breaks this mountain actually makes rubies and like precious stones out of all the stones there. And that light has entered, in a sense, become transparent, these stones. Obviously, all the stones that Maulana mentions are precious stones. And this idea that, I mean, the stone that becomes a valuable, precious stone, or rather, it transmits the light in the sense that stones have also become, that's why they are precious stones. Like in the Kal Yakuti Bainal Hajar, the example of the Prophet comes to mind, and those who follow in his footstep, or rather who have received from his light. Also, the initial part of the poem, I think it reminded of this verse from the Quran, وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. Just like fall headlong. I think that's how it is translated in. Just fall, like take the plunge kind of into. That's the kind of meaning that I think I have like read or rather gathered somewhere in our regional language. That's how it's translated. Like fall, like a tree that is cut. And if you cut a tree, like a coconut tree, then what happens is just falls. It doesn't like put. It's not like it doesn't stop halfway. It just takes the. It's false. They take the plunge in the sense that Maulana is actually. I think it whenever he speaks about things like the Bahar and all these things about the ocean and the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Somehow there is that kind of like this just charge, that push, the plunge into something that I think is it's felt in the sense that like somehow that the charge or something happens when he cites these Quranic verses that seems to have been like some kind of charged with some power, and suddenly that breaks out into these images that are so vivid, and the Quran itself seems to come to this like vivid life in these kind of images, and especially with regard to the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, this Red Sea you mentioned, and this the Tur that's breaking apart. Somehow, some alchemy, some strange kind of thing is happening, and it's that wonder of his, I think, his verses.
Absolutely. Allah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. SubhanAllah. So yeah, I mean, here Maulana is saying Allah doesn't break us to destroy us. Every time there is a trial, every time there is some sort of illness, there is some sort of war, there is some sort of something that tests our patience. It's not because God is mean. It's because God wants to reveal the hidden treasures, the hidden pearls, the hidden rubies, the hidden, deep inside us, there's that fitra. And that's buried. But you need that shaking sometimes so that you remember, so that the rubies are revealed. And that's why we need those. We need those moments of trial. We need those shakings, کودکان چون گرم بازی میشوند مادر خود را فراموش میکنند. When the kids are busy playing, they forget their mother. The moment they're hungry, they go to their mother. So the whole point of this experiencing hunger is you remember your origin, you remember your mother, you remember your God. So it's better to experience that pain and remember, so than to be heedless.
Yes, the verse that you, the poetry that you told about the birds of sea, they are always ready for the trial. So when the trial comes, they are already prepared for this. I remember the story of Hazrat Rabia Basri. So whenever no trial was coming in her life, some problem, some trial was not coming, she was praying, "Oh Allah, are you angry with me? So you are not sending any trial in my life." So this is something that the problem or trial we are running away from. These people, these awliya Allah were waiting for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's the difference, as Maulana says, between the birds of Morgane Hawa, and Hawa, of course, that has double meaning. Hawa is air, but also Hawa, the desires of the nafs. And then the Morgane Abi, the water birds. So the water birds are not afraid of trials. They feed on that. They love that. And because they know remembrance is, it's when there are no trials, it leads to heedlessness. It leads to forgetfulness. They say that Pharaoh, for 40 years, he didn't have a headache, never had toothache. And that's why he could say, I am God, I'm your Lord. The moment you have a toothache, you have, that pain awakens you, and you have a headache, you have any sort of trial.
Yeah, regarding a headache, you mentioned there is a story or an interesting thing regarding the headache you mentioned. For example, in the context of the shukr, the verse of the Quran, Inna hadaynahu sabila imma shakiran wa imma kafura. There are only two paths, only either shukr or kufr, in short. So that to illustrate that point, there is the story that somebody had a headache. Like all of us have headaches, and then he wasn't getting relieved with any paracetamol or any of the treatments they usually given. So he was very upset. And what's this? My headache. Look at everyone. They're all happy. And what is this? Well, has God forsaken me? I've been praying. I've been doing this. I've been like generally been a devoted person. So this was the line of his thought. and he was getting upset. So the same thing, same type of headache, when it came to one of the shakirin, one of the people who are of shukr, like we have, I mean, the kind of people that is being mentioned, that they say, he said that Alhamdulillah, I have headache that reminds me that I have a head, and that reminds me that I exist. Because if I didn't, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have a head. And then I'm able to feel the headache, which is a big gift. And the sense that pain, like for example, if you have a toothache, you'll go to the dentist, and your teeth will be okay. And if you had a like even hunger and thirst are also a type of pain. That's why our body is like able to sustain itself because of the pain of hunger and thirst. So all these are gifts of God, and this headache actually led him to all these thoughts, and he was going from one to the other, and then since praising God and giving thanks to God. And this headache, when it happens to the shakirin, this is what happens. And when it happens to the people of kufr, or the sense that this is what happens, the headache remains and there's no benefit of that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it is.
Allah. Indeed. It's like Saadi, you know, Saadi in his Gulistan, he says, when I was traveling in Lebanon, I did not have shoes. And I had traveled for so long and I didn't have shoes and my feet were blistered. And then I saw someone who didn't have feet. And then for the rest of the journey, I thanked God. I never complained about not having shoes anymore. ای باغبان در ما چه در پیچیده ای. It starts with, O gardener, why are you so entangled with us, در پیچیده ای? Or also it can mean content with us. گر برده ای منگور تو, if we've stolen your grapes, تو برده ای انبان ما, you've taken our sack. Now there's so many stories in literature about gardeners and people coming and stealing fruits from the garden. There's a couple in the Masnavi too. There's the Sufi and the Faqih who, and then there's the story of so many stories about gardeners and so on. But here the gardener is God himself, is the gardener of existence. So Maulana says, yes, we've taken your grapes, and grapes, again, for Maulana is the knowledge, is the spiritual knowledge. It's just like the four beggars who were arguing. One calls it angur, and the other one calls it enab and ozum, and so on. So we've taken your grapes, the dhikr, the sweetness of divine remembrance, the spiritual knowledge. We've taken all these gifts from your garden, but you've taken our sack. You've taken the container. You've taken our self. So you've taken our bag. We've taken this dhikr, and this dhikr has taken our identity. This dhikr has taken our I-ness and we-ness, the ego, the existence. It's the theft of the Sufis, theft of the Sufi path. Yes, we go to Allah for some grapes, for some dhikr, but then in the process, he takes away our worries. It takes away our self, our bags, and everything, all anxieties, all stress, all sadness. It's all because of our attachment to this sack. We identify with this body. We identify with the sack. In Al-Ghuzat Hamadani, he says, when you're riding a horse, you don't identify with the horse. So if the horse is hungry, you say the horse is hungry. You don't say, I am hungry. Right? You feed the horse. But because we have this relationship with the body, it's the body who is hungry, right? When you say, I am hungry, here it says, you've taken our sack. And then you've taken everything else, all these attachments, all these things that we think this is this is me, it's national identity or tribal identity. This is me as so-and-so, son of so-and-so. All of that is not you. The real you is when all of that is taken away. Then you realize who you are. You don't identify with that anymore. And that's what happens when the gardener takes that away. So yeah, that's the final bait. It's mysterious, but it's the Sufi theft. You lose this old bag, but you have the grapes. So that's the beautiful trait. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ. God purchases from the believers their selves. That's the enban, the bag. And then they have the grapes, right? So you gain ultimately the purpose is not the grapes. The purpose is the gardener himself. He came for the grapes, but then when the gardener is there, you don't need the grapes anymore because the gardener is there. The garden, you have the garden. So what's sweeter than ru'ya? What's sweeter than the vision of the gardener? Yeah. Any comments, reflections on this bait or the whole ghazal? This whirlpool. It was a really Australian ghazal with the whirlpool and surfing and yes, Arsa.
Yes, from the word drunk, these Sufi, these people are drunk in the love of Allah. From again, I remember a story of Hazrat Rabia Basri that once someone asked her that do you love Allah? She said yes. Then the person asked, and do you hate shaitan? She said no. She do you curse shaitan? She said no. Other person asked, why you don't do this? She said, because I'm so busy in the love of Allah, like I'm drunk, that I don't have even time to consider him, to even think about him.
Yeah.
So this is something that very deep that we also should be like need to learn how to be drunk like this. That we everywhere we look, we see Allah only.
And that's the nature of love. It doesn't leave room for anything else. Absolutely. Yes, Ashfaq.
Regarding the last bite, I was reminded of a poem by Amir Abdul Qadir al-Jazairi, in which it says, in the English translation, it says that God has stolen my I from me. I, the pronoun I, from me. And then it goes on like that. So this idea that we have been taken, you said we took something, why did you then? We didn't take, but we were taken, in the sense that, like, it's also this about idha aswabathum musibatun qalu inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I was thinking that particular verse, basically musiba means actually our difficulty here is not remembering God and not being in the presence of the beloved, or in the presence of the divine. And hence this inna lillahi, actually it contains in itself, for example, inna lillahi means we belong to God. And so if we ourselves don't belong to ourselves, then nothing else can belong to you. Obviously you yourself don't belong to you. And then if nothing belongs to you, you cannot lose anything, because you can only lose something that belongs to you. So even in logically, strictly speaking, grief or loss is actually taken away by that particular verse and its meaning, in the sense that there is no possibility of loss, because we are already been claimed and we have been taken and we are in safe hands. And that in the sense that whatever we can collect, it's all been collected and we are actually in his bag, in a sense.
Indeed, Allah. Absolutely. So yeah, alhamdulillah, we've completed this ghazal. It started with a whirlpool and it ended in a garden. So this whirlpool of this dunya, drowning within their lovers, were not afraid of tribulation. They're the water birds. So you have the birds of the air, but you also have the water birds who are not afraid of waves. And may Allah Ta'ala, inshallah, allow us to be among those, among the people who are not afraid of trials and who are not afraid of this waves of this ocean. And then in the middle of the ghazal, we had some mountains as well. So we had the mountain who is rent asunder by that manifestation. So that mountain is crumbled. But then, again, Maulana says, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of being broken for Allah. As the hadith says, I am with those whose hearts are broken because of me, for my sake. In broken hearts. Seek God in broken hearts. As Hafiz says, بدین شکستگی ارزد به 100,000 trost. Broken hearts, with their brokenness, they're worth 100,000 wholesome, sound hearts, because they're broken. And in those broken hearts, you'll find the jewels, you'll find the rubies, you'll find You will find all the greatest treasures when there is brokenness, when there is that humility, when the ego, the rock of the ego is broken. And then finally, we have the garden, the vision of the gardener, this person who goes for grapes, and then that peachy, then you've become interwoven or entangled with the gardener himself. And then the gardener takes away his bag, his sack of existence, his illusion of being someone. And he becomes a no one. He becomes, as Sheikh Abul Hassan al-Kharagani says, and Ashfaq, thank you for reminding me of that beautiful quote, Sufi an بود که نبود. A Sufi is the one who is not, whose bag is stolen or whose sack is stolen.
I really like the reference to mountains, as I feel mountains have so much, they have witnessed years and years, like Mount Hira. They have that history, the transformation of prophet, of Hazrat Muhammad to prophethood, they just have an extreme transformational power, these mountains, and they're still here for us to witness. Yeah, subhanallah.
Allah, yeah. And mountains, yeah, they're amazing, Allah. وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا, they're the pegs of the earth, as the Quran says. But they're also lovers, right? That's why in the Quran it says, if the Quran was revealed on a mountain, you would see that mountain would be crumbled. And yeah, the Prophet loved mountains. He had that. Even he says about Uhud, this is a mountain that loves us, and I love it. Or in Arabic, it's him as well. I love this mountain, and this mountain loves me. So that mountain is a witness